What's going on, socialites? Ryan here with the Global Pokemon Society. Kind of just doing a, discussion video that was requested of me for Pokemon Legends Arceus. The video that's playing here doesn't really have anything to do with the discussion. It's just some gameplay that I record. So enjoy that while we kind of talk about the pros and cons, new battle mechanics, new mechanics overall that were added in Legends Arceus. What I think was good, what I think was bad, what I think can carry over into future games, and what I think they should kind of scrap. So we got quite a few to go through, so this might sound a little rambly, but I do have a list of stuff that we want to go through. So first off, I do want to start off with a big pro, which is obviously the just overall style of the game. I definitely think that crafting, which is a huge part in this game, can see some play in a traditional Pokemon game. I think that is a fine thing to have. Now, of course, don't have the whole space limiting thing where you got to spend, I think it's like $4 million or something to fully upgrade your backpack. Just keep that, but I do think that crafting can be something that is put into more traditional style games, probably to a lesser extent. But the reason I'm saying that I would want to keep crafting is the way that they have, and you kind of see it here, the Pokemon wild battles and capturing mechanics. Like, I would love to see those just kind of continue in the game. Seeing the Pokemon in the overworld is great. We've seen that in both Let's Go Pikachu and the Wild Areas Plus expansion and it was even the regular area, right? Wasn't it? But we've seen that in both the Let's Go games and in Sword and Shield, and it's really been mastered, I think, in this one. The way that all the different Pokemon react to you, their movements in the wild, the way they'll look around, get tired, all that sort of stuff. So I definitely think that this was a huge step. I'm gonna say that's basically perfect from where it is. Like, I can't think of anything that I would want to improve upon from the wild Pokemon interactions, and how you can go about capturing them is very cool. So some you gotta bow, some you gotta sneak up on, so I definitely think that is something I would like them to keep, and crafting maybe to a lesser extent as well. Another big thing is the way battles happen, though, and this is something that I don't think can or should be carried over to a more traditional style game. They can keep it in a single player Legends format. Like, I'm sure we might have Pokemon Legends, Zygarde or something come out. Who knows what the next thing will be, but I do think that this could be a spin-off series that we see a couple times. And so the way the battle mechanics work in this is, it isn't, okay, I'm faster than you, I go, then you go. It seems like that at a point. But the way traditional Pokemon battles work is player A and player B select their move at the same time, and then speed and priority and all that go into effect after that. The way this goes is it takes that simultaneous action, which is then affected by, again, speed and priority, into a sequential action. So this takes out the whole prediction and switching and everything that makes competitive battling more, it is what it is. So that's the big gripe on it, for sure, is it takes out all of that. But what is interesting is how they have the action speed. Like, it's an interesting mechanic, right? I don't think it's a bad mechanic for this game. It just can't really be brought into a more traditional style game. Like, imagine you have, like, the extreme Regieleki You know, Timid Max Speed or Jolly Max Speed, Regieleki, Extreme Speed, which would, based on these games, increase your action speed. Like, you'd probably get like 3 or 4 attacks off easily. And, you know, we saw in this battle, or maybe it wasn't in this one, maybe it was earlier, but we have battles where you knock out Pokemon, then your opponent gets like 3 actions in a row to knock yours out. And, you know, that's no fun. And again, there's no opportunity to switch your Pokemon. There's no opportunity to, you know, just kind of build off of that prediction and use your, you know, game knowledge to it. It's just, okay, they have fire type, I'm going to use ground type move. They can't do anything while I use this ground type move. And you can even see the turn order when you're battling, so you know when you might get like 2 attacks in a row, so you can kind of plan for that by going for like a setup and then doing that. So cool, you know, battle style. But I don't want it anywhere near the traditional style games. Another thing that they added was having your moves be able to be mastered, which allows you to use them in either an agile style or a strong style. So with agile style, it's about a 20% less attack power, but you increase your action speed. So this is what allows you to kind of get those 2 or 3 turns off in a row. I only really, like, I don't see the action speed from Agile Style come into play too much. Like, maybe 1 out of 10 times I actually see it. Because, again, you can see when it will affect your turn order directly. So I only really use it when I'm trying to catch, like, you know, weak Pokemon. You know, make my move a little bit weaker so I don't knock them out. Strong Style, on the other hand, does the opposite of making you 20% stronger attack power. It's around 20%. It's give or take based on the move, but it shows what the base power changes to. But it's roughly 20%. And you also get increased accuracy and an increased chance of your additional effects happening, but it lowers your action speed. This I definitely see a lot more. When you use a strong style, you definitely see the lowered action speed a lot more, but you get all those extra benefits, right? So strong style is very interesting. Now, again, for this in a traditional style game, again, the action speed wouldn't really come into play. So how would you, you know, kind of balance this in a traditional game? Like, I think it's interesting, but I'm not sure how you would balance it for a traditional style game, because, again, I don't want anything to do with this action speed mechanic when it comes to, you know, battling like in a PvP style. And this is what we're talking about, right? When we talk about this, like, in a single player game, it is what it is. You don't really care win or lose. You know, you get to just recover and come back and try it again. But there's definitely, like I said, some times where your opponent just knocks out 2 of your Pokemon. You literally had no opportunity to do anything. So, again, going back to, like, Agile Style and Strong Style, if they wanted to incorporate these into a traditional style game, Strong Style, I think what you could do is you could have the increased buffs, but then it becomes like Hyper Beam, Giga Impact, where you gotta recharge the next turn, right? So you get this little extra benefit, but with a big drawback. So you gotta think if you really want it. With Agile Style, I don't know what the drawback... I mean, the drawback is less damage, but I don't know what the buff could be. Because getting like a speed increase, that's probably too good. A priority increase is going to be too good. So Agile Style is the tricky one, right? Strong Style, I can think of something that would like nerf it a little bit. Like actually make it like, okay, I can only do this if I know that I really need this secondary effect, or I really need to knock out this Pokemon because I know that the next turn I'm not going to be able to do anything. So I think that these, unfortunately, just because I can't figure out how to incorporate or balance them. If you have an idea, definitely comment it. Like, how would you see like agile and strong style put into a main series game, like a traditional style game? But yeah, I can't think of anything off the top of my head for that. You know, still very very cool mechanics. I think it's fine. Again, I think agile styles like only useful for fighting wild Pokemon, but is what is. They also put the drawback that these use 2 PP instead of just 1. So in a more traditional style game where you have abilities come back and pressure, maybe it would use 4 PP. So you got like a move like Close Combat, which with PP Max has 8 PP against a pressure user, you can only use that move twice as like a strong or agile style. So that would be something interesting as well. But the overall battle mechanic, again, don't think it can be used in a traditional style game. You see we're actually getting into a battle here, and you'll see some stuff. But I don't know if they can bring the agile and strong style for that. Alright, next I want to talk about battling as well, the special effects that were all added. So they added a bunch of like aura effects. Now you might recognize these if you played Sun and Moon, Ultra Sun and Moon, from the Totem Pokemon. But there are a bunch of, you know, wild. It's basically like might. So it goes from terrible to terrific to wild to frenzied might, and they all either increase their stats or make them get less damage from secondary effects such as poison and what we'll be talking about soon, frostburn and splinters. So like, I think these are fine. Like we saw them in Sun and Moon games for the Totem Pokemon, like for boss style Pokemon. I think those are fine to have just to make them a little bit tougher. And I think you could definitely have more like wild raging Pokemon in games. So I kind of like that mechanic, of course, having stronger wild Pokemon. Some secondary or special effects that they added, though, that we could see in the game are one, fixated. This was the move or the condition that they added to replace effects like Rage and Outrage, where you just, and Rollout, which you just continuously attack with that move. The way fixation works is you can still change your moves whenever you want, but the more you use that move that you're fixated on and keep getting, you know, that build up, you get more damage from that move, but you take more damage in return while you're fixated. So it's a double-edged sword, right? And they nerfed some moves such as Outrage to kind of like make up for this, because again, it builds over time. I could see this being a mechanic in a traditional style game, right? We already have an item metronome, not to be confused with the move metronome, but an item metronome that lets us, you know, increase our damage the more we use a move in succession, successfully use a move in succession. I don't think it's a mechanic that I would want. Like if they replaced Outrage with this and like nerfed Outrage to like 100 base power, and okay, every time you use it, it gets like 10 more base power, but you're gonna take, you know, whatever it is, like 10%, 5% more damage. I don't know what the actual number is for the damage you receive back, but to me that seems like a pretty big drawback for some of these moves. But I could definitely see it coming in. I just hope that they don't nerf like someone, like mainly Outrage is the one, right? Rollout kind of already has this, but without the drawback. And then no one uses Rage. I don't even think they have Rage in the current games. Alright, the next special effect that they added, and we're going to talk about something else when we talk about this, is Enraged, which occurs on wild Pokemon if you fail to capture them, but their offense and defensive stats boost before turn. So I want to kind of tangent off on this. So they changed the way like buffs and debuffs work in this game. And you kind of saw it here with the Zoroark. But the way they work now is Nasty Plot doesn't just raise your special attack +2. It raises all your offensive stats. So that would be attack and special attack. Obviously, this can't really work in traditional games because then everything just becomes either, you know, a... What is it, like cosmic power or a workup? I think those are like the two basic ones that like workup just boosts your attack and special attack by 1, and cosmic power just boosts your defense and special defense by 1. So that would make all boosting moves just like that. And, you know, we don't, you know, that doesn't add a lot of variety. That doesn't add a lot of, you know, gameplay. So that's not something that we want to see. But another thing that they did was they made it so that buffs and debuffs go away after a set amount of turns. So if you use, like, say, Nasty Plot, it only lasts for 3 turns. And move or conditions such as Enraged only lasts for 4 turns. That is something I think could be interesting, right? So obviously there's a thing in Pokemon called setup sweepers, and the way that these work are, you know, you get a Dragon Dance off, so you get an attack and a speed increase, and then maybe you're like Salamence, so your Moxie, you knock the Pokemon out, you get another attack increase, and you kind of snowball from there. Or you're like an Alakazam, you get a Nasty Plot off, and then you get a few kills from there. So if buffs and debuffs like went away after a few turns, I think that could be a very interesting mechanic for competitive play. You know, it would give you some counterplay, built-in counterplay against, you know, setup sweepers. Like, okay, Blastoise just can't go for, like, you know, Shell Smash against 6 Pokemon and think it's going to, like, sweep everything, you know, because it's only going to get 3 turns after that Shell Smash to really benefit from it. A lot of people wouldn't be happy with that, obviously, but I do think it's something to think about. And it would work the other way, like your debuff. So if you had, like, Intimidate, it would only last for 3 turns or 4 turns, whatever they decide it to be. Maybe 4 turns is better. But if you got intimidated after 4 turns, your attack stat would go back to normal from that point. So that's an interesting mechanic in these games in Legends Arceus that I definitely think could go over to a more traditional style game. And I think it would add another layer to competitive PvP battles. So I kind of like that. I would be definitely in favor of trying it out. Don't know if I would be 100% in favor of doing it, but I would definitely try it out. So the next special effect is Obscured. This replaced Evasion Boost. Now, in most competitive settings, now VGC, anything is like, if it's a known move, it's basically legal for the most part. I think the only known move they ever banned might have been Dark Void on Smeargle, because obviously Darkrai isn't allowed in VGC competitive. But if you are more of a Smogon singles player doing that, then moves such as Minimize, Double Team, etc. are typically banned moves that increase your evasion. So Obscured is just a special effect that increases your evasion. So you only get it once, right? You can't go to +6 evasion. So this could be something that if they changed evasion to obscuring and made it like a special effect that only lasts a while, like maybe it's just like confusion, right? It only lasts like so many turns and then you snap out of it. So maybe like Obscured only works for like 3 or 4 turns or something like that, and it's only that one layer, right? You can't get to +6 obscurity like +6 evasion. I think that would be a good change. Obviously, it would allow moves like the new Hisui and Gudra Shelter to be played. Because +1 evasion, like, yes, it is annoying, but the whole point is that you don't want to get to +6, because that's when, you know, it just ruins the competitive side of the game when you have Pokemon that can do that. So I think if they replaced evasion with obscurity, that'd be really cool. Now, how would that work with accuracy increases? You don't usually see Pokemon using like accuracy increased moves. Usually if they're holding something like a wide lens, it's for like a inaccurate move such as Sleep Powder that they want to increase to like a 97% accuracy or something. So I don't think you would have to change too much. Maybe all the, you know, accuracy increasing moves also get like added defog effect, where now defog would remove any obscurity from Pokemon. Although, like, decreasing evasion is basically like increasing accuracy, right? So it's kind of weird when you talk about that. Although defog isn't typically used primarily for its decrease in evasion. So I think there would have to be a little bit of tweaks, but I think this could be a good change when it comes to the way evasion works. Changing it to just a special effect condition of obscurity that only lasts so long and basically can't be stacked on each other. The last special effect that they have is Primed. And the way this works is some moves were changed, such as Double Hit, to basically add a 50% increase to your damage. And this is what priming does, is it increases damage for your next moves. It's kind of like, I don't know. Like, I don't know why you would want that over, say, doing something like Swords Dance or anything. So I'm not really sure where that would come into play. So I'm not really gonna talk too much about that. But those are the special effects that they had in the game. So the different mites I liked for like boss wild Pokemon battles. Fixation could definitely be in the game. I don't think it's like necessarily good or bad. It's just kind of like okay, it's a mechanic. The way that they changed offense and defensive stats that go away after so long, I would like to see that tested out a little bit more. And then obscurity I kind of like as a replacement for evasion. Now, moving on to special conditions, we had some changes here. So they got rid of sleep and replaced it with drowsy. Now, the way drowsy works is we do have drowsy in the traditional games, and what happens when Pokemon becomes drowsy is the end of the next turn, it will fall asleep. So this one works more almost like paralysis, where you might skip like one of your moves. I would want to keep sleep. Sleep has its spot. Like, yes, some people get annoyed with sleep, but it has its reasons, right? Pokemon will use yawn to stop, you know, setup sweepers, to punish switch-ins. It's a very big thing in competitive doubles as well as singles. Obviously, Spore, Sleep Powder. Like, sleep has its place, right? It's not broken like freeze can be, where you could just be frozen for eternity. Sleep only lasts, like, it might only last one turn. You have different chances, right? And different abilities work for that. So I don't think drowsy as it works in Legends Arceus would translate to a traditional style game. I would want to keep sleep. The other new mechanic they removed Freeze, which I just kind of talked about, and replaced it with Frostbite. Now, this is one I really like. So, Frostbite works as a special attack variant burn. And what I mean by that is when the Pokemon has Frostbite, it takes 1/16 damage, just like burn. And its special attack power, so the power of its moves are cut in half. Just like burn cuts physical attack power moves in half. So obviously this takes a lot more of the, volatility of, okay, I'm going for Ice Beam because Ice is just a good offensive type. A lot of Pokemon run Ice coverage. I go for an Ice Beam on a predicted switch-in, or just because it's a non-resisted attack, and I got the 10% freeze, and now I've just basically blanked one of your Pokemon, unless you hit that 20% chance to unthaw, or you have one of the fire moves or Scald. But with Frostbite now, it just becomes a lot more of a competitive mechanic, and really just it's just a much better mechanic, right? And something that I've kind of talked about for a while now as something that I would want to see put into the game, having a special attack version of Burn. So removing Freeze and adding Frostbite would be really, really good. And it can really open up a lot of stuff. So yeah, definitely, no to Drowsy, yes to Frostbite. All the other special conditions basically work the same. You got Poison, you got Paralysis, you got Burn, Confusion. Confusion isn't in this game, but it would just stay as it is in traditional style games. One of the things that they did change quite a bit, though, was weather in this game. So none of the Pokemon have abilities or moves that can affect weather, but there is weather on the maps. So there's still rain, and in these games what rain does is it only reduces fire type attacks. It doesn't boost water type attacks. Now, I always thought rain is a very competitive strategy, right? Weather in general, for the most part, is a competitive strategy. And the way rain works in traditional games is, yes, you use it with Pokemon that typically have Swift Swim to double their speed in the rain, and all of their water attacks, which mostly are stab, are getting a 50% increase as well. So that's a built-in choice specs boost without needing to use the choice specs, plus the speed boost from their ability. I always thought that was a lot, especially for rain. Rain is the main culprit for that, because water is just such a good typing overall to begin with. So I wouldn't mind if they changed rain to, okay, rain just cuts the power of fire type attacks in half, and then you get the benefit from, your other abilities, such as, Dry Skin and Rain Dish, all that. So I don't mind that. For Sun, the way they changed it was they got rid of cutting the water in half and the boosting the fire moves by 50%. And now all Harsh Sunlight does in Legends Arceus is it increases the action speed of grass type Pokemon. So basically it gives them a Legends Arceus version of Chlorophyll. Now, of course, in traditional style games, I don't think you would have this, because grass Pokemon, a lot of them already have Chlorophyll, so just giving them another speed increase on top of that, is just kind of superfluous for a lot of them. Some of them would probably want more speed, like Vileplume, but most of them, they're fine with just getting it doubled. So I think Sun would go back, but I mean, if we want to change rain, maybe Sun just cuts water type attacks in half, which is good, right? The Sun version of that is typically better than the rain version, because fire type Pokemon don't want to be taking full strength water attacks. So cutting those in half is typically good for fire type Pokemon in the sun. And the water Pokemon already resist the fire attack, so they don't really care about that. It's typically just how good water is, plus the swift swimmers, that makes rain so powerful. Sun teams have to rely more on grass types with the chlorophyll ability than they do on fire types, and most grass types don't have any fire coverage, other than, say, a Weather Ball from Venusaur or Victory Bell. So with that, I think you would have to, like, make Sun... Maybe Sun becomes the offensive one, right? Where water is no longer cut in half, which would definitely hurt it, but fire-type attacks are still boosted by 50%. So now that kind of differentiates them. Like, water becomes like this more defensive thing, cutting fire-type attacks, while Sunlight becomes more offensive, boosting the fire-type attacks. Is that good? I don't know, but it is something to think about. As far as Hail goes, they just gave, like, all the Pokemon Legends Arceus version of Slush Rush for the ice types. And I think that's obviously that I kind of talked about with giving all the grass Pokemon chlorophyll. Not so great. So I would definitely want to see that changed back again to just kind of having Hail the way it was. Now, there's no Sandstorm in this. I've always thought Hail should have like a defense increase for ice types to give them a boost, but they didn't do anything like that for Legends Arceus, so I don't really want to talk about things that they wouldn't already have in there. I'm just looking something up real quick while we're doing this Cresselia battle here on the screen. I want to make sure that I didn't forget anything. Oh yeah, so in the snow, again, increases the action speed of ice types. You're more likely to get Frostbite, and you're more likely to miss your turn if you're drowsy. So, I mean, that's kind of interesting, right? You could do that with the moves as well. Like, say, okay, with Rain, we make it so it only cuts the power fire type attacks in half. With Sunlight, maybe now you're more likely to get burned on certain attacks. And Snow, you're more likely to get Frostbite, or Hail, as the traditional games are. So, something, I don't think that the weather is too big of a thing. Like, they can just keep it how it is in the traditional games. And it really doesn't affect too much in the Legends Arceus games, because there's typically not too much weather going on unless you're up on Mount Coronet or Snow Point, as you see the snow here. Yeah, so the last things I want to talk about, I guess, are going to be the story. The story was slow to begin with, but it definitely picks up, and I think it was very good. I think this was a one of the better Pokemon stories in a while, probably since Black and White. You definitely felt the motivation and the emotions of the characters. I mean, if we get some voice acting, maybe in a future game for some of these main characters would be good, but, is what it is. But I felt like that was good. Like, going into the next traditional style games, I hope that they keep this sort of style and format with the more open world-esque discovery with the wild Pokemon. even like the way that they have the battles where you can move your character around, I think that could be interesting to have in a true style game. I mean, maybe not, because now I'm thinking PvP, like maybe people doing some weird things. Not really weird things, it'd probably just be like spinning around and teabagging, but you know what I mean. So yeah, that's kind of just my general thoughts on all that. Overall, Legends Arceus, great game. I don't have too many qualms about it. Just some stuff that I would like to see adopted in a future traditional style game, and some I definitely don't want. So let me know your thoughts down below. And I'm going to let this run a little bit more, because we do go and get Regigigas, so I'll just have the video play on its own, and you can see the Regigigas capture if that's something that you're interested. But make sure you leave a like for the video. Make sure you subscribe for more, Legends Arceus content. We got Brilliant Diamond, Shining Pearl Draft League. I will be competing in some of the Masters Division tournaments on Sword and Shield in a couple weeks, over the next couple months. So definitely check that out. And as always, stay classy, society. Just enjoy the video here.